So let's change pens and change pen colors real quick. And let's say I have an object that is 15 centimeters long. And I want to actually convert this to meters. How can I do that? Okay, so our first step from here is to locate that first set of units, centimeters. So we're looking for centi, and if I go to the staircase, well, centi's down here, and I can see that centi's right here on this step. So centimeters has got to be within this step. And then the next step is to say, well, where are the units for meters? Be really careful here when you're looking for meters to make sure you don't go down to this bottom step, which does not stand for meters, it stands for milli. And we can see that meters is actually located here on this step. So how do we get from centimeters up 2 steps to meters? Now some people might say, well, this is easy. It's 10 times larger, 100 times larger, so let's multiply 15 by 10. Be real careful, make sure you don't fall into that trap. So let's take a look at 15 real quick. We're going to go back down to our centimeter step. We have 15 centimeters here. And if we move up 1 step, the units, deci, are larger than centi. The units are larger, but the value should get smaller. Since it's a multiple of 10, we're going to have to divide by 10 here. And we do the same thing again here. So it's 2 steps. The units are larger, but we need a smaller number to represent 15 centimeters for meters here. So let's actually erase that and move back over to our problem. So let's take 15 centimeters. We're going to go down to our staircase step here for centimeters and ask ourselves, how do we move 2 steps to get to meters? Well, I want you to think multiples of 10. But I can't multiply by 100 because times 10 times 10, that's 100. Because 15 times 100 is 1,500. 1,500 meters is much larger than 15 centimeters. Well, since I'm thinking of multiples of 10, the opposite operation of multiply is divide. What if we divide by, well, 10, 100? Let's divide 15 by 100 real quick and see what happens. I'm just going to erase this stuff real quick. And we have 15 centimeters, and I want to divide by 100. And there's a simple trick to doing this. Well, I have 1 0, 2 zeros, and put the decimal down and move that decimal 2 spaces to the left. I'm moving the decimal to the left because I'm dividing, and I'm moving it 2 spaces to the left because there are 2 zeros for 100. So 15 divided by 100 is equivalent to 0.15. Well, let's go ahead and plug that over here real quick. I have 0.15 meters, which would be equivalent to 15 centimeters. So I have a smaller number for meters, but that's okay because it's representing 15 centimeters. And that's actually the accurate answer here. So let's go ahead and we're going to erase that information that I just wrote down and write down, well, 15 centimeters is equal to 0.15 meters. And I'm just going to box that answer real quick. Well, we can see that 15 is a larger number than 0.15. But the units, centimeters, they're smaller than meters. So centimeters is a smaller set of units than meters, but the value is larger for centimeters than it is for meters. So the trick to remember here, if you're going to move up the staircase or to the left, you're going to divide by multiples of 10, depending on how many steps you're moving. But I'm just going to write divide by multiples of 10. If you're moving up the staircase. However, if you're moving down the staircase, the numbers have got to get bigger, and we're going to look at one in just a second, but let's go ahead and write multiply by multiples of 10, depending on how many steps you're moving down the staircase. So if you're moving down the staircase or to the right, you're going to multiply by multiples of 10. So let's pretend that we have 5 kilograms, and we want to convert to grams. So the first thing I want to do is locate kilograms. Kilo is here, so kilograms should be on this step, and I want to move down to the gram step, which is here. So I'd have to move down 1, 2, 3 steps, or the direction I'm moving is to the right. Since I'm moving down the steps, I'm going to multiply by multiples of 10. So that's times 10 times 100 times 1,000. So let's take 5 and multiply it by 1,000. And there's a quick trick here. I'm going to just write the 5 down again and put the decimal down and ask myself, how many times do I need to move the decimal? Well, I have 1, 2, 3 zeros after the 1 for 1,000. I'm going to move the decimal 3 times, but will I move it to the left or to the right? Let's go back to the staircase real quick. I was on the staircase and I moved down 1, 2, 3 steps, but the direction I moved was to the right. So let's move the decimal 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right. We'll stop here. And I'm going to plug these empty spaces or empty spots with zeros. So my new value, it's 5,000 grams. And I'll slide up in just 1 second here. Let's just get a little bit of room so we can see that G. So 5,000 grams, and we'll box that up. So a couple of things to remember. Let's just change pens and pen colors real quick. If we're moving down the steps, well, the direction we're moving is down and to the right. So let's just write down and to the right. Down and to the right. And I'm just going to put an R with a circle around it for the right. Well, that tells us if we're moving down the steps, we're going to multiply by multiples of 10. And we'll move the decimal to the right the amount of times you are multiplying by 10, or basically how many steps you had to move from one unit to the other. And if you're moving down the steps, remember the number that you start with will be smaller and you've got to make it bigger. So that's why you're multiplying. So let's go ahead and make that note real quick. So if the number's smaller starting out, you have to make it bigger. Make it bigger or larger. And the only way you can make it larger is if you're multiplying by multiples of 10. Let's go change pens one more time and go back to our staircase. If we want to move up the staircase, we're moving up and the direction we're moving is to the left. So I'm just going to write here up and to the left. I'm going to put a big L with a circle around it for left. So if we're moving up that staircase, or if we go back to the staircase, let's go back to where we were at 15 centimeters on that staircase. We had a big number, 15. We had to make it smaller to 0.15 to make it 0.15 meters. So in this case, to remember to divide, just think, if that number is larger, so I want you to write that down, if number is larger, make it smaller. And the only way you can make it smaller is if you divide by multiples of 10. And the number of units or places you'll move that decimal to the left depends on how many times you divide by 10. Or another way of thinking about it is if you're moving up the stairs, how many steps did you climb? Determines how many units you move that decimal to the left. But always remember that mnemonic, or create your own. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Cool stuff, guys. I'll see you in another video.